Hello and welcome back to English for You. I'm Seb.
And I'm Mike.
And we have been learning all about Rufus, the red panda.
Yeah, that's right. You would think that red pandas and giant pandas, the black and white ones we know from the zoo, are related, but we found out yesterday that really they're not.
No, I was very surprised by that,
The only thing they're related by is a name, and the name was, of course, comes from Nepal, which is where you find red pandas, not in sort of central China, which is where you find giant pandas. So that was one thing we learned. And we also learned that really from a scientific level, they're actually quite different.
Yes, I found that very surprising. I think it's because they have similar faces. I was looking at a picture of them recently that like the markings on their faces and their noses look quite similar.
Right.
But genetically, from a science perspective, they're not. And that got me thinking about other animals in the animal kingdom that have misleading names, that are named after other animals. So the one that jumps to mind is the sea cow.
The sea cow?
Yes.
I've never seen a black and white fish going moo as it produces milk in the ocean.
Right.
So there are no cows in the sea.
No, it's not like a mermaid cow.
What is a sea cow?
A sea cow is actually a manatee or a dugong.
Okay.
Yeah, they're kind of like seals, I guess. I don't know if they're the same.
Seals. I don't really. And people have never milked them for, cheese and butter.
No, they haven't, but they're very, very slow.
They're very slow?
Yes.
Well, maybe that's why. Or maybe someone saw them eating some seaweed once, and the way they chew reminded them of how a cow chews its food. I don't know. Yes. That's an interesting one.
Yes. All right. So yesterday we ended by talking about which was cuter, the red panda or the giant panda. And I think that brings us into our next question. So let's get started with today's article.
Reading.
The Red Panda Fact File. You're cute like a giant panda. Are there any other similarities?
Several. Like giant pandas, we eat lots of bamboo. We also eat fruit, insects, and small animals. Another thing we have in common with giant pandas is our special false thumb. It's actually a long wrist bone, and it helps us hold bamboo. In addition, it makes us great climbers.
You always look so clean and healthy. What are your beauty secrets?
The first thing I do every morning is lick my paws and wash my whole body. I can even wash my face with my back legs. My bushy tail keeps me warm and helps me balance, so I groom that too.
How many of you are there in the wild?
Sadly, fewer than 10,000. We're endangered because people hunt us and cut down the forests that we live in. It's illegal to hunt us, and many of our forests are protected, but we still need help. Okay, that's all. Look out for me the next time you're at the zoo. Ta-ta for now.
All right, so our first question for day 2 is, you're cute like a giant panda. Are there any other similarities? I see. Okay, so a similarity is basically something that is almost the same about two things. Okay, so if there's a similarity between two things or people, then they are alike in some way. So Ity, that I-T-Y at the end of similarity, is actually a way of turning some adjectives into nouns. So another one I can think of is clear can become clarity, or brief can become brevity. And clarity is just being clear, or brevity is just being brief. So similarity is just something that makes two things similar. An example sentence for similarity is, there are few similarities between the Chinese and Japanese languages, except for their writing systems. So there are not many, except for the fact that they write words in similar ways.
Interesting. Yeah, that's true now I think about it. All right, so there are definitely some similarities between these animals, but not as many as you'd think, and certainly not as many as you might imagine based on their names. Now, let's look at some of the similarities. We already know they are actually different in many ways, but there are some similarities, and that's what Rufus tells us in his answer. He says several. Okay, so there are several similarities. Several, of course, meaning quite a few, or definitely more than just one or two. He says, like giant pandas, we eat lots of bamboo. Okay, well, that's an interesting little fact that I think also might have confused scientists. These animals both love to eat bamboo, and they kind of look similar. You might guess that they have some kind of relationship there. They're related in some way because, of course, bamboo is the kind of plant. But, of course, bamboo is very famous for being pandas. That's the giant panda, the black and white one, their favorite food. Bamboo is used for all sorts of things. I think you can make paper from it. You can make utensils from it. You can make all sorts of things from bamboo. It grows very quickly, and it is used in all sorts of ways. And I guess, yeah, it grows, of course, in China, but okay, yeah, near the Himalayas and in southern China and in Nepal, you can probably find bamboo lower down on the mountainside. Here's an example sentence. The birds built a large nest in a forest of bamboo. It's probably a good place to hide your nest.
Yes, it is. So the article continues, we also eat fruit, insects, and small animals, so other things that the red pandas eat.
Well, interesting. Yeah, I think giant pandas, they prefer bamboo, but they must be able to eat a few other things. But I think they're quite picky, though. Bamboo is certainly their number 1, 2, and 3 favorite food. But being bears, they do probably eat insects and small animals and things like that. But think about it, a panda's pretty lazy. I can't imagine it chasing a mouse through a forest when it can just sit on its bum and eat bamboo all day long. Anyways, back to our article. It says another thing we have in common with giant pandas is our special false thumb. Oh, wow, this is something I didn't really know about. Apparently, giant pandas and red pandas, that's why it says a thing we have in common is that they both have a false thumb. Now, everyone has a thumb, every person at least has a thumb. It's on your hand, and it's that shortest finger kind of on the inside of your hand if you look at your hands from the back. The thumb is one of the fingers or one of the digits that kind of separates us from many other animals. Most animals, apart from apes and monkeys, don't have thumbs, and thumbs are super useful because they're used for holding things, using things, moving things around in a very fine and careful kind of way. I mean, try not using your thumb for a whole day, and you'll realize that everything from getting dressed to brushing your teeth to using your phone to opening a door will be quite tricky without a thumb. But apparently these pandas have thumbs, but maybe there's something a little different about it because they're not really related to us or monkeys or apes. And of course, for them, it's called a false thumb. So we'll find out a little bit about that in a second. Our example sentence for thumb is Helen broke her thumb last week. Ouch. So she can't hold a pen right now. And we also had this phrase, have something in common. When you have something in common with somebody, that basically means there's some kind of connection there. Maybe there's a shared history, a shared experience. Maybe you both look similar in some kind of way or have the same hobbies or interests. But, you know, there's some kind of connection. When we make friends, when we meet new people for the first time, it's nice if you can discover that you have something in common. Oh, that's your favorite band. That's my favorite band. Or, oh, you lived in Europe for a few years, so did I.
We have that in common.
Exactly.
So a false thumb means that it looks like a thumb, but it's not actually a thumb. In fact, the article says it's actually a long wrist bone, and it helps us hold bamboo. So I guess I was wrong in day one when I said that they have thumbs. Maybe raccoons are like that as well, because I always thought raccoons had thumbs too. But no, in the red panda's case, it's a wrist bone. Now, the wrist is the part of your body between your hand and your arm. It is a joint, I guess we could say. So a joint is basically any point on your body which you bend to do things. So your shoulders, your wrists, your elbows, these are all points which you bend to be able to use your arms, to use your legs. And so the wrist wrist is also a very important part of your body. And we've got an example sentence here. Agnes hurt her wrist when she fell down while skiing. That happens a lot, actually, especially to people who ski, I think, because whenever you fall over, you might put your hands out to protect yourself, and your wrist is going to be the first thing that hits the ground. So when you hurt your wrist, you can't really do much with your hand.
In addition, back to the article, this is the false thumb, this long wrist bone that we're still talking about. In addition, it makes us great climbers. Oh, okay, so in the same way that they can hold on to a stalk or a piece of bamboo, they can use their false thumb also as a way of climbing up things, maybe climbing up bamboo or small trees to get out of danger or something like that. So in addition, we see that phrase at the beginning of the sentence. Basically, that means that here's something that's also or extra or and. So we're adding a point that's related, that has the same idea, that has a connection of some kind. If someone says, what did you do on the weekend? You can say, I saw a movie. I went to my grandmother's house. In addition, I studied for my math test next week. So we're just kind of making a list of things that you did, and you're kind of tagging this on at the end to kind of say, oh, one more thing, and also this thing as well.
Exactly. We're adding something onto the end.
So next we've got this grammar point. In addition, it makes us great climbers. Now the key word here is make. We know make mainly as a verb to construct something, to form something. But here we're talking about forcing an outcome or causing something to happen. So how we create this grammar pattern is we have the subject, so I, me, you, she, or whatever. It could be the red pandas here. Then we have make, and then we have our object and the object complement. Now the object and the object complement the outcomes, right? So in addition, it makes us great climbers. Here, it is our false thumb and our tail, it's our tail that gives us balance, and that makes us great climbers. The object and the object complement are us and great climbers. So because of our tails, we can climb very well. Another good example we could use could be the hot weather in Taiwan makes it difficult to go outside during summer. So here, because the weather is hot, it is unpleasant or uncomfortable to go outside during summer.
So the next question for Rufus is, you always look so clean and healthy. What are your beauty secrets?
All right. The answer is the first thing I do every morning is lick my paws and wash my whole body. All right. And here we have this word paws, which is a great word to know when talking about animals. People, and we could say some other animals, we might say have hands and feet, right? Your hands are on the ends of your arms, and your feet are on the ends of your legs. But for animals that walk on four legs, like cats, dogs, things like that, even up to lions and wolves, big scary animals on four legs, we would call their hands and their feet paws. We don't make a difference between the front and the back, except by saying front paws and back paws. But basically, when we use this word paws, we're talking about the hands and feet of certain types of animals. Now, these paws usually have pads on the bottom, like a dog or a cat. But we wouldn't use this word paw, for example, a horse or a cow. That would be a different kind of word, and certainly even more different animals like birds, we wouldn't use this word. So if we're thinking of paws, we're thinking of things like bears, cats, dogs, animals like that walk on their hands and their feet. But of course, since they're animals, we call those things paws. So what is it to lick? It's to stick out your tongue and kind of wipe it across something. What do you lick? Well, you might lick your hands if you've been eating sticky food or something like that.
Lick your fingers.
Greasy, sticky food. If you're cooking or making a cake and you get some sugar on you, you might lick it off. And of course, ice cream. Ice cream is the one food that I think everybody would lick as they are eating it. You don't necessarily chew your ice cream. That would be weird. You're licking your ice cream off the ice cream cone or off the spoon or something like that. Now, most people, well, we don't lick much except food, but of course in the animal world where they don't have washcloths and soap and bathrooms, they lick things a lot more than we do. For example, Alice licked the ice cream and enjoyed the sweet taste of vanilla.
Okay, so our next... continuing on with Rufus's response. I can even wash my face with my back legs. Okay, so
that's a good trick.
That is a good trick.
Yeah.
I don't think I can touch my face with my back
My
legs.
cats can't do that. They use their front legs.
Yes, yeah. I was going to say with my back legs, but I guess I only have one pair of legs. Because when we're talking about back legs, we normally mean an animal with four legs, some front legs and some back legs. So Rufus is saying he can use the ones at the very back by his tail to wash his face, which is a pretty great trick.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. And there's another area that he wants to keep nice and clean. It says, my bushy tail keeps me warm and helps me balance, so I groom that too. Sounds like red pandas and cats actually are quite similar in that they do spend a lot of time of their day cleaning and licking themselves and stuff for different reasons. In this case, having a nice bushy tail is a very useful thing for a red panda. When something's bushy, it just kind of has a lot of hair on it, and the hair kind of puffs out or sticks out, like you might imagine
You have bushy hair on your head.
Bushy hair in your head means you have quite a lot of hair, and it's probably curly. This isn't long hair that flows down your back like a golden river of hair. No, this is hair that kind of sticks out in all directions. If you push on it, it kind of bounces back like a bush. So the bushy tail, I guess the red panda wraps it around itself when it's cold, like a scarf. That's what the bushy tail does. It's kind of like a blanket or a scarf, so that's important. And the tail, like a cat's tail or a monkey's tail or many animals that climb very well, they use the tail to keep them balanced or to balance themselves. When you balance, basically you stop your body from falling over when you're standing on a very narrow, a very sort of small area of land or a floor or something like that. Think of someone in the circus who walks across one of those wires and they stick their arms out, or they might even use an umbrella to balance themselves. And if you've ever seen a cat walking along a narrow fence or something like that, you'll notice the tail kind of swings the opposite from the body. And this, like the arms of the person in the circus, stops the cat from falling off this very narrow edge or something like that. For example, the spinning wheels of a bicycle help to balance it while it is moving. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good example. So what we were talking about just now when we were talking about licking, I wanted to go back to that because we've got this other word here, groom. And I think that is a good way of describing what the red panda is doing. So when we groom ourselves, we take care of our appearance, normally by licking ourselves or, like rubbing our faces, our hands with our faces. And you can kind of tell from my explanation that we're not really talking about people here.
No.
Like, I personally don't lick myself, and I don't get ready to go to work in the morning by, rubbing my face with my hands.
Right.
But you do see a lot of animals doing this. You see dogs doing it, you see cats doing it, you see squirrels doing it, you see lots of different animals do it in their own way.
And so you could do it to the animal too, right?
You can groom an animal as well. If you've ever taken your dog to the pet store to get a haircut or to have his fur brushed, then that's also a kind of grooming. It's actually a grooming service.
That's right.
You can do that if you have a mangy dog that needs taken care of. So they groom themselves.
Yeah, absolutely, Berm. Here's another question.
So yeah, we have one last question. How many of you are there in the wild? Okay, so how many of you are not in zoos? How many are you in Nepal running around?
Probably part of the reason it's hard to see these creatures, and also part of the reason that we're learning about them, and it's important to learn about them because Rufus tells us, sadly, fewer than 10,000. Wow, so we already knew it was going to be bad news because Rufus began by saying sadly, so we know that this is going to be sad news, bad news of some kind. Fewer than 10,000 red pandas out there in nature at all. That's a very, very low number. I mean, that's like wild tiger numbers. It's a very low number, 10,000 in all of nature out there in Nepal and China. Why? We're endangered because people hunt us and cut down the forests that we live in. Same with tigers, same with lots of different animals like this. Unfortunately, human activity, either by hunting them for some reason or also just cutting down the forests for trees or to build houses or things like that. It's taking away the natural places places that red pandas would normally live. So this is not a good thing. And of course, cutting down forests causes all sorts of troubles for the world, from raising the temperature of the planet to lowering the ability to clean the atmosphere. But we do it for all sorts of reasons. When you cut something down, basically you're using a tool, maybe an axe, maybe a power saw, maybe a large machine to cut down, to remove the tree by cutting it at the very bottom, and it falls down. And then, of course, we cut it up into wood and make it into paper and all sorts of stuff. We could also say chop down. You chop down a tree or you cut down a tree.
Right. So we do this a lot, especially in places where there's large forests or, they make furniture or anything like that, any place where you need a lot of wood.
Yep.
But this has an effect on local animals, and that's why we use this word endangered here. Now, endangered means an animal that may soon become extinct, that there's not many of left.
Yep.
So they said there's fewer than 10,000 of these red pandas left. And I'm not really sure what the number needs to be, but I think when the number is very small, it's difficult for those animals to continue to maintain the same numbers, because they have to find each other, they have to breed. Like it's much more complicated than, living in a nice house like we do as people. So they are endangered. There's a risk that all the red pandas will disappear one day. And when that happens, we say that they become extinct. When an animal is extinct, it doesn't exist anymore. The dinosaurs are extinct.
Yep.
The Tasmanian devil, I think, is one of the more recent animals to become extinct. It became extinct maybe 80 years ago.
Right. And right now, the white rhino is going extinct. I think there were 3 left. The male died. And there are 2 females left. And, of course, with 2 lady rhinos, you can't make baby rhinos. So it's gone beyond endangered and is basically extinct from now on. So we don't want the same fate to come to the red panda.
And that's why we have this next sentence. It's illegal to hunt us, and many of our forests are protected, but we still need help. Right. Often these issues are very complicated. It's very difficult to just, make a law and expect there to be more pandas. So they still need lots of help. And that's why we're learning about them today.
There you go. So we got to be a good friend to the red panda because red pandas need friends. And as Rufus finishes off his interview, he's got a busy day. He's got to go back and eat some bamboo. He says, okay, that's all. Look out for me, he says. Look out for me the next time you're at the zoo. And then he kind of says goodbye in a very cool way. TTFN, ta-ta for now. In other words, bye-bye. He's got to go. There's some bamboo and a nap that he has to take care of. That's why he says that's all. When we say that's all, we're kind of saying, all right, that's it. We're finished. There's no more. You got to go home. You can't stay here. Something like that. So,
bye.
Have you finished your story? Yep, that's all. I've told you everything useful that you need to hear about.
Exactly. And Rufus says, look out for me next time you're at the zoo. So when we ask someone to look out for us, we're just saying, pay attention and, see if I'm there. You could say, we're driving down Taiwan's east coast. So look out for some beautiful scenery on the way.
Definitely.
Keep your eyes on the window.
Except if you're driving.
Except if you're driving.
Look out for big trucks.
Yes, look out for big trucks.
Look
out
at the
for
ocean.
Dogs in the road. I don't know. Be aware of things.
Right.
So to look out for something just means to be aware of it, or to keep an eye open for it, we could also say as well. All right, that's all we've got time for today. We've got one more For You Chat question, though, so don't go anywhere.
For You Chat.
All right, our For You Chat question for today is, what can we do to help endangered animals? Right, it's a big question.
That is a big question. Well, I think one of the things that we can do is just what we've done today and yesterday. Learn about them, right? If we learn about these animals, A, why they're interesting, B, what wonderful creatures they are, and also, how beautiful they are, or, the other facts like that, and also why they're in danger. I think that can really do a lot. As long as people know about a problem, that's the only way they can start to take action about that problem. If you don't know about it, you can't do much about the situation.
Exactly. You need to care about it, and you need to see that it's a real risk.
Exactly.
I would say another thing we can do is be careful about the amount of waste that we create, because maybe not for the red panda, but for a lot of animals in the sea, for example. I know that plastic pollution, waste pollution, is one of the main things that is causing a lot of these animals to go extinct. So actually really small things that you're doing in your daily life might affect the well-being of animals on the other side of the planet.
Very true.
So,
or if you're in Nepal, make an effort to try to find where the red pandas are. If the local people learn that, wow, Westerners, tourists from all over the world will come here, they'll spend money, they want to see red pandas, maybe that will give the local people, the local governments more reason to do something about it, building some, proper places, some sort of zoos and animal centers for red pandas in order to actually protect them. If they realize we can make more money by keeping the pandas alive than we can by killing them or chopping down their forests and selling the wood, then we're going to protect the forest because we'll protect the panda and tourists will come for many, many years. So that would be a great solution for everyone, really.
That is very, very true. All right, that's all the time we have for today, but we will be seeing you later in the month with more interesting articles. So until then, bye-bye.
Take care.
Vocabulary Review.
Similarity. I can tell that Brian is your brother. You share many similarities. Bamboo. Chopsticks that are designed to only be used once are usually made out of bamboo because it's cheap. Thumb. Tony hit his thumb with a hammer, so now it's hard for him to pick things up. Wrist. Michael bought a new watch, but it's too big for his wrist. He'll have to take it back to the store. Lick. Sammy licked her ice cream happily until it was all gone. Balance. As Lisa walked along the narrow bridge, she balanced by holding her arms out at her sides.
智慧小补帖
Paw. Groom. Endangered.
以上节目是由活用空中美语制作，活用空中美语杂志，请洽询全国各大书店。如欲索取试听教材，请来电02-2364-4000 02-2364-4000，或上网查询，网址是 www.english4u.net www.english4u.net